Hi, this is Suhail over here. I'm going to talk about WorkSmart's deep work score formula. First of all, few definitions. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. Attention residue. Thoughts from previous activity residing in your current activity is called attention residue. For example, if a person is browsing a social networking app or he's on social network and then he shifts to a cognitively demanding task, still thoughts from previous engagement will remain in his current engagement for a while. This is known as attention residue. According to this theory, multitasking does not exist. You just go from one task to another task, diminishing performance across all of the time block. Enough period of duration that we fully concentrate on one activity or task is called time block without distraction. Time blocks cannot exceed more than 240 minutes or 4 hours. That according to this theory, it can be 1 hour, 1 hour 45 minutes, 1 hour 30 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, but it cannot exceed more than 4 hours. And some of the time blocks, like you can have 2 or more 3 time blocks in a day or 4 time blocks in a day, but those sum of time blocks cannot exceed more than 8 or 10 hours. Flow is a mental state of activity in which a person performing an activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement and full enjoyment in the process of activity. In essence, flow is characterized by complete absorption in what one does. IB is the start of block. That value is always 1 or the first minute. EB is the end of block, the time block we are talking about. And end of block or EB, say for the 4-hour time block, it is 240th minute or the value is 240, and for 1 hour time block, the value is 60 or the 60th minute. KMPA is a notification for or a notation for just label for keyboard strokes plus mouse events on a productive app in a minute. KMPA underscore E is a label or notation for keyboard strokes plus mouse events on all apps in a minute, or it can also be a constant number or presumed number. Delta intensity of focus or deep work score per minute or for that minute is a ratio of KMPA divided by KMPA underscore E. Now, this ratio can be considered in the summation of deep work score, but to be considered in the deep work score, it has to satisfy certain conditions, or it should, when it is valid, we will call it as DIF valid. Say for example, no social networking notification or email notification in that minute. What does that mean? I'll take you to the Excel sheet, explain you what it is. Just bear. This is a number of notifications, okay, received per minute on a social networking app or an email notification in that minute when the person was doing the deep work. For these 3 minutes, he received the notification, hence his delta intensity of focus or deep work score is 0. Going back to the slide, idle time for continuous 10 minutes will invalidate all DIF in those 10 minutes, plus next X number of minutes are also invalid or are 0. What do I mean by that? For example, for continuous 10 minutes, this is the idle time, this is the KMPA, number of keyboard and mouse events on a productive app. This is the idling time in seconds in those minutes, in those particular minutes. So when for 10 continuous minutes I'm idling for 60 seconds, it invalidates these 10 minutes, plus because of those attention residue theory and not in flow theory, it also invalidates much more than that. This more than those figures are dependent on what the team would like to have or what parameter we would like to have. It could be 10 minutes plus X minutes, that X can have any value, 1 or 2 or 2 or 10 or 5, whatever you want. Then going back to the presentation, if this DIF falls into the time block more than 4 hours, then all DIF falling into those exceeding minutes are invalid or 0. I hope this is understood. When we talk about a time block, and in this time block, if we keep the time block more than 4 hours, whatever is more than 4 hours DIF that we collect is invalid. We will not use it to calculate the deep work score. Similarly, some of the time blocks cannot exceed a presumed number of 8 hours or 10 hours. DIF falling in those exceeding minutes are invalid or are 0. Now what is this factor of focused flow? Basically, if you have seen this graph earlier that I showed you, in this factor of focused flow takes 4 values. First it is 0, then it is an incremental percentage that gets added to the intensity of focus by the percentage of intensity of focus. it reaches a maximum value, then it goes down. Then it takes another value, that is negative value, minus say percentage or negative percentage. Then it exponentially crashes down and reduces the intensity of focus or the focus to 0. Now first, say for example from 0 to up to 10th minute, it takes a value 0. We call it period 1. Again, this period can be questioned. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 12 minutes, it can be 15 minutes, it can be 8 minutes, 5 minutes. Now then secondly, there is a FOF2. It takes a positive value. Basically you get into the flow and you're increasingly getting focused, and your intensity of focus is increasing, thereby increasing your score of delta intensity of focus or deep work score. It goes on increasing your deep work score up to, say for example, 180th minute, and then again this period can be anything you want to decide, like it can be 2 hours, that is 120 minutes, or it can be even 150 minutes, whatever you decide. Then FOF takes third value. When it starts descending, factor of focus flow starts descending, and in turn it also reduces your intensity of focus, that is your deep work score, from 180th minute up to 240th minute. And this period from 180th minute up to 240th minute, we can just call it P3 for, say for example. Again, this can be something different or be the same. Then after, say for example, 4 hours, or when you have crossed 4th hour, you entered in the 5th hour, okay, this figure exponentially increases, and thereby reducing, this one becomes minus 50 percentage, and FOF4 is minus 50 percentage, that is focused flow is exponentially decreasing. And you can see when it is exponentially decreasing, it reduces your intensity or deep work score drastically. Now let's go to the next slide and see the formula. Basically, deep work score time block is equals to sum of delta intensity of focus valid plus delta intensity of focus multiplied by the percentage of FOF. NTB is the number of time block in that day for or 24 hours period. NTB is the number of time blocks in that day or 24 hours period. Deep work score daily is nothing but sum of deep work score time block 1 plus time block 2 plus time block 3, or so on and so forth. That is denoted by this formula. Sum of deep work score daily over a period of a week or a month for a task or activity, where SDD is the start day date and EDD is the end day date, is noted, is given by this formula over here. What is the significance of this is we can basically see how much deep work score is utilized by task 1, 12.43, task 2, 18.94, task 3, 19.21, and by the individual contribution by Bill, by say Hassan, by John, Carrie and Larry, Sadaf and Sarah, and you can see over here, and according to these scores, team can be rewarded, and this can lead to encouragement of performing high in the, and it can promote a very healthy working environment as well. That's all. And just one more thing, you can see you can have different types of basically dashboards. You can have a bar graph, you can have a pie chart, you can have a different type of charts. This is just an example over here. Thank you very much.